Hello, travel biz owner. Welcome to my corner of the travel industry, the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur Podcast. If you're ready to have fun, be inspired, get clarity, and take action in your travel business, then you're in the right place. Let's jump in. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Strategic Travel Entrepreneur Podcast. I am Rita M. Perez. I'm your host. I've been in the industry for over 15 years now, taking a look at it. And I produce weekly podcast episodes to help you build a better travel business. I had a really personal episode last week, so I hope that you enjoyed kind of getting the inner peelings of my onion layer self. If you're new around here, I love talking about the onion reference, especially when it comes to Shrek. So this will not be the first time that you hear that reference. I am currently sailing aboard TMP on the river. This is our third year. TMP stands for Travel Marketplace. And if you didn't know, Travel Marketplace is an event produced by Travel Market Report. So many of you might know that name a little bit better. It is a publication for the travel industry, and Travel Marketplace is something that they actually do in the Canadian market. So I believe they've done some in Vancouver, Toronto, possibly Quebec, but I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I do know they have at least 2 or 3 different events all around Canada throughout the year. And then this event happens somewhere in the world on a river. So we are going back to the Netherlands and the Belgian waterways, which I'm really excited about. That's kind of how we kicked off 3 years ago. And we are on a extra special itinerary. It's a 10-night. It's a totally custom itinerary. So I feel like it's a blend of tulip time, but also some ports that you might not normally see on a tulip time itinerary. So I am recording this from the past in the future. So I am just going to say I'm doing so well because I'm putting that, I'm going to put that energy out that this trip has been going so well and my eye has been healing so amazing. So yeah, putting those happy feelers out. If you want to hear the real story, I'm sure I'll have it over on Instagram, but hoping that it is not too far from that case. And I don't know how much longer I'm going to be doing the BOGO consulting flash sale. So if you want to get in on it, this might be the last weekend, quote unquote. I'm just not sure how long I will keep running it. So I'll make sure to add the link again in the show description. BOGO Marketing Consulting is really, you get me one-on-one for 2 sessions at the price of 1, which is really incredible offer. You get to have my time twice. Eyeballs on your business, whatever it is that you would like to chat on or strategize for your business. So if this is video marketing, content creation, want to look over your website and look for SEO or AEO opportunities, happy to do that and be really granular. Maybe you're wanting to come up with a networking plan for the next couple of months, or you've thought about doing this or you've thought about doing that, but you're not sure if that's the right move for your business. These are all different types of things that I can address in these marketing sessions with you. So definitely take advantage of that. You would be helping me, but I also want to give back and help you in return. So huge thank you for all of you who have already partaken in that special offer. So let's go ahead and jump into one of my favorite topics, which is events to promote your business. And again, if you are new around here, or if you've been here for quite some time, you know there are fan favorite events that I host every year for the travel industry. And coming up very, very soon is going to be the Travel Tech Audio Summit. If you know of any companies that should be on that summit, please feel free to reach out to me. I do have a list of people that I know-ish. I haven't reached out to them just yet, but maybe I have by the time this episode airs. So really, really excited. In past years, we've had Turn, Travify, Shaka Guides, Greet Her, lots of different technology to help you in your business or help you and your clients have smoother travel. So just really excited for this year's conversations and seasons. But when we're talking about it for you, specifically as a travel advisor, why I personally love events and like putting on events, and this is both in person and virtual events, is that it really does get you in front of new people. Now, I'm also going to be talking about events that not necessarily that you have to put up, but that you attend yourself. I feel like there's more bang for your buck by going to events because there's so much more people, or like hosting an event. There's just so much more than like just a one-on-one or like a smaller type of networking event. It does like go bigger quicker, whereas like other networking type events might take a little bit longer. You can build relationships on multiple different levels. So again, like I talk about relationships almost like from 3 different avenues. Like one can be prospective client, one can be like a referral partner, and one can also be like the prospective client hopefully turns into like an actual client. Then you have a referral partner. They might not need your services, but they know people that need your services. And then you just have people who become like besties in business, where you can just be like, oh, this happened to me, and you can vent, or like you can celebrate all the great things that might be happening in your business. So we need those 3 types of people who kind of like get it, where like maybe people in like our personal relationships might not get it because they are not an entrepreneur. I also love events because they are fun. And this is why I like doing events. Now, spoiler alert, if you didn't know, I feel like I get this from my mom. I've always been an event planner. I actually went to school at the Rosen College of Hospitality Management, which is part of the University of Central Florida, for event planning. They do have an event planning degree, but I didn't want to lock myself into that. So I went with just general hospitality management. And I focused a lot of my curriculum around event planning, and lots of the volunteer opportunities that we had within the industry had to do with event planning. I remember even like being in high school and planning Halloween parties as a member of my Interact, which is like the high school version of Rotary International, for a homeless shelter. So like event planning for me might come a little bit easier just because I've been doing this for years, and I I just love all the different aspects. I think this is kind of probably also how I got into the travel industry, and I feel like you on the other end listening to me might also have an affinity for events, since you also love travel planning, and they're similar but different things. So that's a huge thing, that these are like fun events. It is not always all smiles though. There are some like ups and downs with anything. So I kind of just want to talk a little bit about the different types of events, and then also some of the tactical information when it comes to these events, like the timing of things and the logistics and how you promote like your own events. So I categorize events in 4 different avenues. I say that you can attend an event, you can spend at an event, you can vend at an event, or the event can depend on you. So let's break down kind of what these 4 things actually mean: the attend, vend, spend, depend. So attend means, well, that's the simplest one. It means that you are going to some sort of event, that you are going to some sort of conference. As I'm recording this, River Cruise Expo is huge. Now, this might not be the place where you find your own clients, but it's beneficial to go to some of these industry events so that, one, you can meet a lot of support team members in terms of like your supplier relationships, and get that hands-on knowledge. So there is value in that. But when we're talking specifically about lead generation, what types of conferences or summit types of events might your ideal clients be attending? And I go back to thinking like the special diet cruise that I wanted to put together and actually might be reviving. That kind of started because I attended a virtual conference of this special diet. This might also be that, like, locally, when I was very much wanting to get back in 2020 into like the HR world doing retreats for teams, I was looking at a lot of HR conferences that were happening here in my local Central Florida area to see, like, these things cost a lot of money. So not necessarily be a vendor at the event, but to start mixing and mingle with people that might be my ideal clients. So people who are in the HR world who would typically be planning these types of retreats. So what does that look like for you? Like, I know there are so many, like, immediately I think about like neurodivergency, and there are so many like conferences and events and summits and things that help parents with neurodivergent children like be better parents, how to guide their kids a little bit better. So that is going to be a really great place for you. I even think about like my own favorite places to be, like, there's an endometriosis summit that is happening in the local area. Maybe that might be something along the lines that I'm not sure that's something that I would take advantage of, but if you also have endometriosis and you're wanting to like maybe put an educational event on a cruise or just locally, maybe this is something that you could assist with and just be there with the right like people of influence that are there. I also think about, there's conferences for literally everything, because it doesn't have to be businessy or it doesn't have to be like medical. I'm also thinking about like the megacons and the spooky empires, a lot of like those nerdy type things where like you find comic books and people who are interested in anime and manga, and those people definitely want to take trips together, especially if the trip is based around like the commonality that they have. Like, I'm thinking like you could even put together Outlander groups, because the final season of Outlander just got together. And each of these like different fandoms, which I'm a huge fan of myself, has its own like shtick. Like there's an event, there's Facebook groups, there's things like that you can go to and meet people and maybe start putting in their ear, putting that little bird in their ear that, hey, have you ever thought, like, you have a really great following in the Marvel community. Have you ever thought about maybe putting like a Marvel cruise at sea together, or whatever it might be? Another really great idea for attending is business groups. So are there any, and I always love to refer back to one of the presentations recently at Prep for Wave Week with Belvin Baldwin II, where he does talk about, like, that's a lot of what he does in his local area, is that he attends business groups for different professional organizations, whether that's in the medical field, that's in the legal field. Those are the types of clients that he wants to have. So if there's going to be networking events with lots of those types of clients, it really works out for him to be in front of those types of people, even though necessarily he's not a medical or legal or whatever profession it might be. Those are the people that you want to serve. So you've got to be where those people are hanging out at. I think community service is a really great way just to meet people. You're obviously, and for all of these things, you might kind of be pitching, but it's not like you're directly pitching. You're trying to create relationships. And that's overall what I want you to see with this. Like, these are different places where you can start creating relationships. It's not necessarily that you're going like, oh, I'm a travel advisor, do you want to hire me? No. Like, this is a little bit of the long game, but these are really creative places to start building those relationships. And that's why I bring up community service, because when I think of people who are doing community service, they have things that people who travel have. They have time on their hands, and they most definitely have like the financially resources, not all the time, but I would think like if you do have the at least time to volunteer your time, you most likely also have the financial resources to travel. So being able to meet people, because naturally in the conversation, as you're at a food bank or you're giving out donations like with the Salvation Army or whatever it might be, what you do is going to come up in conversation because that's one of the most popular questions that people are going to ask you. So I would consider getting out involved in your local community. And one of the ways that you can do that, of course, I'm going to plug Rotary International, but there's lots of different things that are possible, like even not being part of a service group. Because I know Rotary is a group, Lions is a group. I know like there's Moose and Elks Lodge that are also like community service oriented groups. And then like when I think about Orlando, there's a organization called Hands on Orlando that kind of puts together like they put a list, like they curate a list of different events that are happening with different organizations. So they'll like put food banks, they'll put like Habitat for Humanity and all that on their calendar of events. So if you're interested in volunteering or helping whatever, I'm also thinking about like dog shelters and things like that. But there's lots of different organizations in your local community that I'm sure that you could support with your service. Also, if you are hosting any like virtual or not hosting, but attending any virtual events, get into the chat and start meeting people, because very frequently for a lot of these events, they want you talking in the chat. They want you meeting other people that are in the chat. So that's a really great way to put your contact information and then also to start building your little black book of contacts throughout different events too. So thinking about like what webinars specific to your niche that you're attending. Moving on to vend. So I typically think about this as you being a vendor at an event, which means for the most part, you have probably paid to be at this event to have some sort of a booth. And so I know there's certain, like there's going to be the big consumer shows, which is one of the ideas that I have. Those are going to be pretty expensive, like thousands of dollars. So if you don't have the funds to do that, a couple ways to get kind of creative on that is to see if you can partner with a supplier partner and see if they can use some marketing funds. Like maybe you can split the costs, or maybe they can take all the cost if you just focus on their product. So I'm thinking like if you're partnering like with a river cruise line, you're just going to be talking about river cruises at this consumer show. And of course, since you are there, you're going to be the agent of choice for that supplier partner at the time. So that's an idea there. And like also with consumer shows, if you can't afford to be a vendor, simply attending the consumer shows and meeting with the vendors is an incredibly strategic way and route to go about by this too, especially if there's any vendors that you can like create like strategic relationships with. So maybe you have like the both the same type of ideal client, but they do something totally different. Like they're not even in travel. Maybe you guys can come together, like host an in-person event or a virtual event and kind of like uplift both of your communities by like, look, this person has this to offer. I have this to offer. Here's how we can both live in contentment all together. So really getting creative with that. I think about markets. And especially in like the magical theme park realm here in Central Florida, there's a lot of markets that are based on this magical theme park realm. So if you're in Central Florida, it might behoove you. It might be really smart of you to be attending this, because normally what's at markets, like even not thinking about like magical theme park markets, there's in Central Florida here, there's something called like Milk Mart, because there's a milk district, because TG Lee was a big manufacturer here in Central Florida many, many years ago. So they still call that area Milk District. A little Orlando history there for you. But there's this market that's called Milk Mart, and wherever you're at, there's going to be these different types of markets. These could be farmers markets. These could be just like vendors who are selling trinkets or things. But these would also be strategic for you to be at and get in front of clientele, especially if it's the right type of clientele for you. And to kind of determine that is like, where is it located? What are the types of people that normally come out? Is there a theme? Because like that Milk Mart that I'm talking about does become like a spooky market around like Halloween time. So maybe the regular Milk Mart or whatever you might have close to you is not is not something that like you would be at, but anything with a spooky theme is where you would be at, because those are the trips that you specialize in, is like haunting type of vacations or anything like with a spooky element to it. So like really thinking creatively about that. Also different niche types of events. So similar but different. I also think about festivals. The festival that immediately came up to mind, I know like they do like Scottish Highland festivals. I think those are normally at the beginning of the year, so I'm not sure like how much more are going to be like towards the end of the years, but especially if you want to get more people to like Scotland or the British Isles, being there and being able to have like a vendor booth over there and talk to people about travel, I'm sure they are going to nerd out about that too, especially if they are already a fan of that part of the world. So getting really creative. I also think about like there's tons of music festivals. I'm not sure like their booth setup per se, but I'm sure that if this is like your niche, like EDM, the electronic music and all that, you could figure out a way to have your business have some sort of presence at these festivals that a lot of people are going to be at in general. And then of course, community events. Like a lot of these types of events happen towards the end of the year. I feel like a lot of them are going to start happening now since we're in the spring. I know there's a lot of like Easter time markets. Market season, especially here in Central Florida, is probably going to die like after May-ish, and we'll start tapering down in May just because it gets so hot. And I also know like May is a big transition time between like end of school time and then also graduation time. So a lot of people start checking out around that time, and then it will start picking back up. Like there's not really a lot of things that at least happen here in Central Florida, maybe more up north where it's not so squelching hot. But it'll pick back up like in September-ish for all of the fall markets. So thinking about that, because I know there's a local Jewish community center that does a lot of different vendor type events. And I know that there's lots, like even there's Facebook groups to find vendor events. So if you wanted to check that out. Now I will caution, there are definitely some scammers in this kind of vendor event. So you want to make sure that you're kind of vetting the events that you want to be at. Like, have they been in longevity? Is the person, like, is there any authority behind that person? Do you know that this like is an accurate person? Has this event been running for long? So you do kind of want to do a little bit of vetting if kind of vending is a little bit new for you in the event space. Moving on to our third kind of space in the events world, it is spending. So this is where you're not necessarily going to have a booth or anything, but you are spending money to have your maybe logo somewhere. And so when I think about this, obviously like first thing that comes to place for me is like charity events. So charity events can be like where you are buying a table or you're buying like a seat at the table, which is also really good. Like even if you don't get like a logo spot, at least you can be around people who are spenders who might be really great travelers for you and for a really great cause because it is a charity event. I know that there's lots of different, because when I think of that, I'm also thinking about like galas. And there's a lot of affluent individuals that do attend these types of gala types events. So you do want to be in the room. If you can't afford to be in the room, well, how else can you get into the room? Like, can you sponsor a table and have your logo at the table? Is there a program that you might be able to like buy an ad into? If it's like, I think of like fashion runway shows, like I know in Central Florida, there's like some like wine and fashion nights or wine and walk type nights. So are you able to like just put your name out there in some sort of a way that helps give visibility to your business? I also think about like sports when it comes to this spending, and I think of Florida's huge on golf. There's golf courses everywhere, and they do a lot of charity type golf of events. I know Rotary, one of my Rotaries, they're actually asking for vendors, and it's really reasonable. I think like maybe $100 or $200 to have your logo on different places as part of the program. But I know like things that you can like quote unquote buy at these types of charity events is Like you can buy a hole and your logo is on that hole during this golf tournament. You can also like get your logo on it's not a program, but it's like the scoring card of golf. So what other types of sports things? I also think about like when I was in school, I would see that some of the sports teams on the back of their shirts would have different logos of local businesses that have supported the sports team. So would that be something that you could also do? And this is going to be great, especially if you do have kids that are in school or know of kids that are in school that are needing, these schools and these teams are needing some additional funds. I know like dance does a lot of that. Cheer does a lot of that. I have done this for somebody who was like in one of those beauty competitions where I was able to get an ad in the program of the beauty competition before. So, and that kind of goes into like events programs and collateral and where can you get like a logo is one thing. It's great. That'll be like great recognition, but can you also add like a URL or like a QR code or like a little blurb? So there's a lot of ways that this can kind of stack and that you can also be, again, very creative in how you get your business out there. I also think like of when I'm thinking about conferences, there are so many supplier type places that you see. So I'm thinking specifically about like, Asta River Cruise. And if you need to use some of our industry events, definitely use some of our industry events because that's here in the travel industry. You can definitely bet that other industries are going to have conferences and they're going to be selling like sponsorship space very similarly. So I know like you can sponsor the keynote or sponsor a session or sponsor the bags or sponsor the badges. So if you just needed a couple more ideas, when you're looking at niche events, maybe you can't go. Maybe you can't like sponsor a big thing, but maybe you can sponsor a smaller thing that at least your business has some sort of a presence. Even like there's virtual event sponsorship opportunities now as well. So like, could you sponsor sessions? Could you sponsor days of sessions? There's just a lot of different places. Now, I wouldn't just do it where it's like a one and done, where you're just trying to slap on a logo somewhere. Where it's going to pay out in dividends on this specific kind of tactic is you building a relationship either with the event runners or being able to be at these events and make relationships with the people who are attending this. Because it is one thing just to slap your logo on something, but it's a whole other thing to be able to be like, oh yeah, I sponsored this and I'm here volunteering. And that kind of like puts like extra oomph, extra kudos, extra authority behind you doing this one very generous thing of supporting the event and spending your money there. So also wanted to give you that tidbit. The final kind of event type that I would say is events that depend on you because you are running the event. So this could be just simple, like you are putting on a webinar about like the latest destinations that your favorite supplier is heading to this year. This could even be like very timely about all the changes that are happening worldwide and what your clients or what your potential clients need to know about what it's like traveling, the realities of travel in 2026. That's also going to be a really great lead generator for you, meaning like a email collector for you. Did you want to put on like a different like a virtual event or summit type of event where it might be like you are going to my neurodivergent example, you are the parent of a neurodivergent child and you want to do maybe a day's worth of sessions on how you can support kids who are neurodivergent. You would obviously do some sort of session based on travel, but I would hope that you would also partner up with different people who have different aspects of working with neurodivergent children, that you can make this like a really thinking about your curriculum or your event schedule, just making sure every session is kind of complementary to each other and making sure that your attendees really get the most out of it. That is going to be probably like one of the most time consuming things, but it is also going to set you apart especially if you are the host of the blah, blah, blah summit or the blah, blah, blah event, virtual event. Like, it is going to set you apart in your niche and you're going to be known. Like, there's a lot of name recognition that comes with this and a lot more additional trust because you have essentially given back to this community. So that is really why I love doing those types of events. This could just simply be some sort of a virtual type challenge. You know me, I like my audio series. I just mentioned the Travel Tech Audio Summit. And this can simply be like you're just having a travel night or a cruise night. Just hosting something on Zoom, which is a little bit easier than like something like a week-long event. So, okay, we've got some of these event ideas out there. What are you going to be promoting exactly? So when we're thinking about like the logistics of everything, I would think timing wise, you're going to need at least like 4 to 6 weeks to plan. If it is like some sort of like virtual summit type thing, you're probably going to need maybe like 12 weeks. So also think about like your capacity. Think about timing. Like if you're listening to this, I'm currently recording this on Friday, March 13th. Maybe you are going to be apt in May to be holding an event. Because like if we're thinking 4 to 6 weeks, that's probably going to be end of April, beginning of May is going to be like is that going to be a really great timing though? You're going to be the best one to decide that. I would say breaking this down, you're going to need about 2 weeks to plan, and that's making sure you have all your logistics together, all your registration automation is together, and then you're going to need about 3 to 6 weeks at least to promote. I normally promote things on a 3-week basis. I jumped that to a 6-week basis last year, and that helped out a lot to get even more people involved. So the longer promotional runway that you have, the better that it comes to that. So thinking of some of these logistics, like day of the week, time of day, you're going to know your audience best, especially like this comes from like you planning an event, not necessarily you attending an event, because you're just kind of like checking, yes, I'm going to go to the event. Whereas if you're running an event, there's a lot more logistics that come with it. How long do you want this event to be? What season? What venue? Like, do you want it to be an in-person event? Do you want it to be a virtual event? Each one comes like with its own different set of challenges. Especially myself as I'm trying to plan an in-person event. That is a little bit challenging, especially a multi-day event. So maybe a single day event might be a little bit easier. You also got to start planning what your promotional plan is going to be. So what's your positioning of the event? How are you going to market? Who are you going to market to? How often are you going to be marketing this event? What are your goals and objectives, and how are you going to get there? And what collaborators can you get involved to help you make this a successful event? Thinking about promoting your event, obviously we have social media. You can use any groups that you might be involved in. Also getting this out on LinkedIn. You can also use like that create an event program that's available on Facebook and on LinkedIn to kind of like get the word out that way. Making sure that it's listed on your Google business profile to have even more people, especially locally, be able to know that your event exists and be able to participate. You can even still use websites like Meetup and Eventbrite. Those are still very popular and still help a lot of events to get out there. Are there any publications that you might be able to promote your event, like whether that's online or if it's a print? Because like I also think about like church bulletins are a really great place to be putting ads in, but you can also like instead of just promoting your business, being able to promote events in some of these like printed publications. And then also again going back to business collaborators, like who is similar in your niche but doesn't do travel or doesn't do travel like you do that can help promote the event and get the word out for this. Going on to like registration technology, just some things to think about because I know getting really tactical here, but I think that these are still going to be really important. You can use things like Zoom, StreamYard, or Riverside if you wanted to do like some sort of a live stream on YouTube or Facebook or on LinkedIn. With your email marketing, because typically how you're going to have people sign up is through your email service provider. So you've obviously got to set apart like however they call it within your system, you've got to set apart like a special like group, segment, or tag for this event. So it's got to be that you are, so let's say this is the River Cruise 411 event. So that might be what your group, segment, or tag might be labeled in your email service provider. I would also make sure to add the month and the year, because if you do run this multiple times, at least you can like really identify where these people are coming from based on which one they signed up during the year. As far as like automations and workflows, I love to send, especially for my events, like a you're in type of email, it's today type of email, and then a post-event email that says something about thank you, here's the recording, here's where you can get further information, here's where the links are. So I do like having that 3 email automation set up. If you don't set it up as a workflow, you might just have it set like up and like drafted and just send the emails manually when you're ready to send the emails. Also making sure that you have some sort of landing page that people can sign up. And as soon as they sign up from this landing page, then they get segmented or tagged or grouped into that group that you had created for this automation. I love if you're able to put a form onto your website. I feel like being able to say, go to abctravel.com/rivercruise411 is going to be a lot easier than saying, go to flowdesk.com/157Z8910. So if you can get that embedded onto your website, that's going to be so much better. And then you have like a custom URL for that. Some technologies that you might want to consider, they are added costs. So I'm like, take it with a grain of salt, depending on like what your business goals are going to be. But they have landing pages and they have lots of automations to different email service providers and technologies that you might use. So Thrivecart is one of those that I really love. And then Member Vault is another one. Member Vault is actually the platform that I use most often. So if you're signing up for anything, it's probably through Member Vault. And I'm happy to, like, if you're like, Rita, you're mentioning a lot of things, give me links, send me links, let me know, just email me. And I'm happy to send you like further information so you don't have to go digging around for that stuff. And then I obviously am a huge fan of Canva, especially for creating a lot of those marketing assets and the collateral that you're going to need. When you are at these events or during these events, like, I just want you to remember to just be really welcoming, because this is going to be a reflection of you and your business. Like, you want to make sure that you are looking good. So being welcoming is going to be super important. Also making sure that you delivered what you promised, that what they signed up for wasn't clickbait, that they're getting everything that you mentioned that they were going to get out of this sort of event. And then also making sure, I'm the fan of CTAs, that call to action. So what is going to be the call to action after this event? Be your webinar, this could be a summit, this could be a cruise night. Do you want people to set up a discovery call with you afterwards? Do you want people to join your Facebook group afterwards? Do you want people to book a deposit? Figuring that out it's going to couple really well with whatever, like, what is the goal of your event? Because the goal might just be visibility, getting your name out there, having people like know who you are and getting them on your email list. So then it might just be that you want them to join a Facebook group. Maybe you are trying to sell a group. So hopefully the call to action, if you are like promoting a group during this presentation, is to book your deposit or to book a discovery call to follow up. So again, your call to action is going to depend based on like what is the point of the event that you're doing. And then some other things that you might want to consider are accessibility. And so like if you're having a virtual type of event, is there going to be some sort of transcript available or closed captioning available, which I know is it should be a pretty simple process, especially if you're doing like stuff through YouTube. And then making sure that you have compelling copywriting that is positioning your event, that just makes people be like, I can't afford to like miss out on this event. Like, I have to be there. I know one of my favorite copywriters within the industry is Emily Matris with Bon Vivant Copy, so I'm happy to share that information with you as well. I've personally worked with Emily, and she is a highly sought after copywriter in the industry, so can't say enough amazing things. The last thing that you should know about events is that the fortune is in the follow-up. So no matter if you're attending, spending, vending, depending, you need to be doing some sort of follow-up. Don't just go to the event, make contacts, and never reach out from there. Like, you've missed an opportunity there. Make sure that you are doing some sort of following up. So if you are collecting business cards, if you're having everybody sign up to your email list at your booth, follow up with them in some manner. They may not answer immediately. Maybe check in a month from now or 2 months from now. Some people are busy. I know myself, like, we're busy and we need a couple of follow-ups because you never know what life is going to hand you. Now, if somebody says, no, I'm not interested at this time, then you can stop the follow-up. You don't want to be pestering people. Hopefully they have signed up for something and given consent that they can be like on your email list. Normally, like, if they sign up for a freebie or anything, they know that they're going to be going onto your email list. Then they can just follow your journey through like your weekly emails or your bi-monthly emails, whatever cadence that you have. But do not forget about the follow-up, because that is probably, I mean, we've talked a lot about important parts, but that is one of the most important parts. If you are not going to do the follow-up afterwards, then just don't do any of this because it's not going to work in your favor. All right, I know that this was a packed episode, so let me know what other questions might come up about using events to get visibility on your travel business. Have a wonderful week, and I will see you all here again next week. Thanks for joining me on the podcast today. Remember to check out the show notes for all relevant links and resources from today's show. See you next time.